you brace for anything. Amid the search, Ian Huntley spoke to the media. He said the girls had come to his door briefly that evening. He said they left unharmed. He appeared cooperative, concerned. In the early days, he was not a villain in the story. He was a potential witness. And that matters, because the families, like everyone else, were trying to piece together the last known movements. They were grasping for information, any information. Trust is extended easily when fear is overwhelming. As days passed without discovery, hope thinned. But hope never fully disappears. Parents cling to it, even when statistics whisper otherwise. They replay conversations, they think, maybe they're somewhere safe, maybe someone is helping them, maybe this will end with relief. And that hope is what makes what follows so devastating. 2 10-year-old girls left home for sweets on a warm August evening. Their families expected them back before dark. Instead, they entered a nightmare that would alter not just their lives, but the country's understanding of trust. Because when the truth began to surface, it would not involve a faceless stranger from outside town. It would involve someone who lived within walking distance. Someone connected to the school. Someone ordinary. And that realization would fracture Soham in a way it has never fully recovered from. As the search for Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman widened beyond Soham, something else expanded with it. The photograph. The 2 girls, standing shoulder to shoulder, matching red Manchester United shirts. Beckham, 7. The image moved faster than the police helicopters. It appeared on television screens across Britain, on front pages, on missing person posters taped inside petrol stations and supermarket windows. The red was bright, hopeful, unmistakably childhood. At 10 years old, David Beckham wasn't just a footballer. He was a symbol, precision, fame, glamour, safety. Children wore his name like armour. Holly and Jessica had dressed to match that evening because that's what best friends do. They align, they coordinate, they exist as a pair. The shirts were never meant to carry meaning, they were meant for fun. But as the days passed and the girls did not return, those shirts become something else. They become the visual shorthand for innocence. And as the image spread, another image spread with it. Ian Huntley, standing outside his home, speaking to reporters, calm, measured, cooperative. He said the girls had knocked on his front door that Sunday evening. He said they asked about a missing football shirt. He said he had spoken to them briefly. He said they left unharmed. He stood beneath the same sky the search helicopters were scanning. He spoke while the red-shirted photograph looped on news broadcasts behind him. 2 parallel visuals. The smiling girls in Beckham shirts. The caretaker explaining timelines. And in that pairing something unsettling was forming, though no one yet knew it. As the nation watched the image of the girls in Manchester United shirts, David Beckham saw it too. He publicly expressed concern, said he hoped they would be found safe, said he was thinking of their families. It was a small statement, but it bridged something powerful. The world of elite sport and the quiet streets of Soham suddenly intersected. Millions who might not have known the town now knew the girls, because they wore his name. The red shirts amplified the reach of the story, and as the search continued, the image became impossible to ignore. While the country searched fields and waterways, Ian Huntley did not retreat. He stepped toward the media. He appeared more than once, each time composed, each time recounting the same essential claim. They came to my door. They left. I don't know what happened after. His tone did not waver. He did not appear evasive. In fact, he appeared helpful. There's something psychologically complex about this moment, because the same broadcast that showed the girls smiling in their football shirts also showed the man who would later be convicted of their murders. And at the time, viewers saw no contradiction. They saw a witness, a concerned local man, a school caretaker embedded in the community. Trust filled the space where suspicion had not yet grown. Soham residents watched these interviews like the rest of the country. Some later said they felt uneasy. Others saw nothing unusual. That's the power of normal presentation. When someone stands in daylight and speaks calmly, we interpret that as transparency. When someone engages openly with reporters, we assume innocence. Huntley remained visible, and visibility in those early days shielded him. As days passed, police interviews intensified. Statements were reviewed, timelines reconstructed, small inconsistencies began appearing, details shifted subtly, but outwardly Huntley maintained composure. He remained in the narrative, still explaining, still answering, still part of the public story. And all the while the red shirts remained on screens across the country, a constant reminder of who was missing. When the girls' bodies were discovered near RAF Lakenheath on August the 17th, the emotional shift was immediate. Hope collapsed into grief. The Red Man United shirts no longer symbolised fandom, they symbolised loss. The image that once carried optimism now carried finality. David Beckham later invited the families privately to a Manchester United match, met them, spoke with them, offered condolences, not as spectacle, but as solidarity. The shirts had connected the story to millions, and now they connected grief just as widely. With confirmation of death, investigative focus sharpened. Police revisited Huntley's media statements. Forensic evidence contradicted parts of his account. His car, his movements, burn evidence, fibres. The composed caretaker who'd stood in front of cameras was now under arrest. The emotional whiplash for the public was profound, because they had watched him speak, they had heard his voice, they had seen him positioned against the same backdrop as the missing girl's image. The proximity between performance and truth was almost unbearable. While the country stared at two smiling girls in matching Beckham shirts, Ian Huntley stood under studio lights. While David Beckham expressed hope, Huntley repeated timelines. While millions held on to belief, he controlled the narrative as long as he could. And that is what lingers. Not just what happened, but how easily it sat within view. The photograph and the interviews, the innocence and the performance, side by side on the same screen. Hidden crimes in plain sight. In the early days of the investigation, Ian Huntley was not the centre of the storm. He was one of many. A local voice, a man who had seen the girls briefly, cooperative, available, present. But investigations are not built on impressions, they're built on timelines. And timelines, when pressed hard enough, begin to reveal strain. Police interviewed Huntley multiple times in the days after the girls disappeared. At first the questions were routine. When did you last see them? What did they say? How long were they there? His answers were consistent, mostly. He said the girls knocked at his door around 6:30 p.m. He said they asked about a missing football shirt. He said they left shortly after. He said he watched them walk away. But as officers began mapping the timeline against CCTV footage and witness statements, something didn't sit cleanly. Small details shifted. Times moved by minutes, then by more.